Ottawa has introduced legislation to examine the Canada-US price gap. The plan is to investigate cases of price gouging. Is the price gap a valid concern? We put the question to the chief economist at the Bank of Montreal.
It definitely has been a real thing for much of the past 10 years, and it was extreme when we were above parity. And there were a couple episodes of that, of course, back in 2007 and then again in 2010, 2011. Now it's a little bit of a different story. Now that we're all the way down to around 87 cents or so, I find that there really isn't that big of a difference. I know that in certain products, and the things that people often point to are things like auto tires or running shoes and that sort of thing. There still is a gap. But if you were to look at a broad basket of goods, you'd actually find that they're relatively even between Canada and the US. The minister did make the point that the currency could always come back in the years ahead, and we have to be prepared for that. And I think that's a fair comment. I mean, we don't know for sure that the currency isn't going to come back. Our best guess, though, is that the currency is actually likely to weaken further, and that this is likely to be a non-issue over the next few years. There's some goods like electronics, like magazines, where there actually isn't a price difference at all. And in fact, at today's exchange rate, you may find some of those items to be cheaper in Canada than the US. So this isn't a concern for every single sector. It's a concern for some products, though. I actually think some of the gap between Canada and the US is as much a US story as it is a Canadian story. I think we're comparing ourselves to the most competitive market in the world. I mean, that's a market that some suppliers will, cut prices as much as they can to win market share in what is an incredibly important and very, very competitive market. I mean, when you look at Canadian prices versus prices around the rest of the world, like Europe or Japan, you actually don't find Canada as expensive at all.